You're sitting on the couch. You're both watching something neither of you is actually watching. And you feel it. That strange, quiet loneliness that has no name sitting right there between you. You reach for your phone. They're relieved you did. You're not sure why that stings so much, but it does. And your brain starts running its usual loop. Why does this keep happening? Why does it feel like I'm the only one trying? Is this just what love looks like after year 2? Do I still love them? Or have I just gotten used to them? Am I the problem? Here's what nobody tells you. The relationship didn't get harder because your love faded. It got harder because your safety did. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Detachment isn't about winning them back. It's not about making them miss you. It's about doing something far more radical. Letting go of the outcome so completely that you become the person you were before this relationship made you small. You're not failing at love. You're just finally ready to stop abandoning yourself in the process. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your pulling always made them push, why your attempts to connect kept pushing them further away, and the specific internal shift that transforms your entire dynamic without you having to say a single word about it. Let's get into it. The mindset reframe. Most couples believe that the way to get closer to their partner is to move toward them, to reach out more, to ask more questions, to express your need for connection more clearly. But here's what attachment science actually reveals, and this is the part that changes everything. When someone has an avoidant attachment pattern, their nervous system does not experience your reaching as safety. It experiences it as threat. Here's why. Every human nervous system is calibrated to protect itself. For someone who grew up learning that closeness meant losing themselves, or that love came with conditions, or that needing someone was dangerous, your reach toward them doesn't register as love. It registers as pressure. And the deeper you push, the harder their system pushes back. This is why every time you said, "I just want to feel close to you," they heard, "You are not enough." And every time you asked, "Why can't you just open up?" they heard, "There's something broken in you." This is not about them not caring. This is about their nervous system being wired to protect them from something your love hasn't been able to override. Because love without emotional safety is just pressure wearing a kind face. And here's what nobody explains. The moment you stop making their withdrawal about your inadequacy, something in them shifts. Not because you did anything to them, but because you stopped doing something to yourself. Your partner's nervous system is reading you before their mind can catch up. And when you stop chasing, when you stop the desperate energy, when you detach from the outcome, they don't feel rejected. They feel something they haven't felt in a long time. Safe. That's when the whole dynamic flips. The 7 points. Point 1. Stop making their distance your emergency. The pattern. Most people in relationships with avoidant partners treat their partner's withdrawal like a 5-alarm fire. The moment they go quiet, you go into rescue mode. You send the text. You ask what's wrong. You lean in harder. You offer solutions. You ask for reassurance. Your nervous system says, "Fix this. Restore connection. Don't let them slip away." The deeper truth. What you are actually doing is communicating that you cannot tolerate their interior world. That their need for space is a problem to be solved. That your emotional regulation depends on them being available. And this is what their nervous system reads. If I go inward, I lose them. If I need space, I'm hurting them. If I express what I actually feel, I'll collapse the whole thing. So they go quieter. Not because they don't love you, but because your urgency is telling them that their normal, healthy human need for autonomy is dangerous to the relationship. The contrast. You. Hey, you seem distant. Is everything okay? Did I do something? Talk to me. I just want to understand. What their nervous system hears. You are too much and not enough simultaneously. Fix yourself. Versus you. Pause. Breathe. Stay in your own body. You. I'm here if you want to talk. And I'm also just going to read for a bit. What their nervous system hears. I can come back to this. This space is actually safe. The shift. When you stop treating their withdrawal as a crisis, something in them stops bracing for the next emergency. And that's when the walls, which were never about keeping you out, by the way, but about keeping themselves together, start to come down on their own timeline, not yours. Point 2. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a signal being sent. The pattern. Most people with anxious attachment patterns spend years believing that if they could just find the right words, the right approach, the right communication strategy, their avoidant partner would finally understand and finally show up. So you read the books, you go to therapy, you learn about attachment theory, you try to bring it up gently, you try to bring it up firmly, you try to be patient, you try to give them space. Nothing changes, and you start to feel like you're losing your mind. The deeper truth. Here's what you're missing. Your anxiety in the relationship isn't a bug, it's a signal. It is your nervous system pointing at something real, a gap in the emotional availability of the relationship, and saying, this matters. This is not enough. But here's the thing. You have been using your anxiety to try to change them, and your anxiety cannot do that. Your anxiety was designed to make you pursue, but pursuit makes avoidance retreat. It's an inescapable cycle, not because you chose wrong, but because two nervous systems are doing exactly what they were designed to do. The contrast. You. Why can't you just be more emotionally available? I've told you what I need. Why don't you ever initiate? What their inner monologue sounds like. She is right, and that makes me feel like I'm failing, and failing makes me want to disappear. Versus you. I've been doing some work on myself, and I want to share what I'm learning, not to fix you, but because it's been helping me. What their inner monologue sounds like. She's not trying to change me. She's not making me the problem. Something in her feels different. The shift. When you turn your anxiety into curiosity about yourself, when you make your need for connection your own project instead of theirs, you stop being a pressure signal and start being a healing signal. And that changes everything about how they experience you. Point 3. The power of, I'm good when you're not. The pattern. Most people in this dynamic cannot tolerate the silence that comes when their partner is withdrawn. So they fill it. They send the follow-up text. They check in again. They offer another opportunity to connect. They over-explain. They overshare. And every time you do this, you're teaching them one thing. If I go quiet, she'll come running. So I don't have to do anything. She'll handle it. She always does. This is what behavioral psychologists call a reinforcement loop, and it's keeping you stuck in a dynamic that is slowly eroding your sense of self. The deeper truth. Here's the hard truth. You have been using your pursuit as a way to manage your own anxiety. not as a way to actually get closer to them. If it were about connection, you'd have noticed that your pursuit pushes them further away by now. But it's not about connection. It's about control. It's about feeling like you're doing something, like you're not just sitting with the unbearable uncertainty of not knowing where you stand. The act of detaching, of saying, "I'm good" when you're not, of being okay without their response, is not manipulation or a game. It's actually the most emotionally honest thing you can do. Because you are admitting that your peace does not depend on them showing up in the way you need. That's not pretending. That's sovereignty. The contrast. You. 3 hours pass without a response to your text. You. Hey, just checking in. Did you get my last message? Everything okay? What their inner monologue hears. I need to manage her anxiety. This is my job now. Versus. You. 3 hours pass without a response to your text. You. Nothing. You go do something that fills you up. You go lift. You call a friend. You make something. You exist in your own life. What their inner monologue hears. She doesn't need me to survive. She has a whole world. The shift. And here's what changes everything. When you stop being someone who needs them to show up, they stop being someone who has to run away from the pressure of being needed. Your independence is not a threat to the relationship. It's the foundation of it. Point 4. Become the person who can hold their heart without cracking it. The pattern. Most people with anxious attachment patterns receive their partner's rare moments of vulnerability like someone who hasn't eaten in days receiving food. They devour it. They hold on to it. They reference it later. They ask for more of it immediately. So your partner finally opens up. They tell you something they've never told anyone. They share a fear, a wound, a shame. And your response, which feels loving to you, looks like this. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad you told me. I promise I'll be here for you. Does this mean you're ready to work on things together now? Can we talk more about what caused this? What they experience. The one time I open up, she immediately wants more. I can't do this. The deeper truth. This is one of the cruelest paradoxes in anxious avoidant dynamics. The more you wanted their vulnerability, the less safe you made it for them to be vulnerable. Not because your love wasn't real, but because your need was too visible in the moment they were most fragile. Real emotional safety is not about celebrating vulnerability. It's about making it completely cost-free. It means receiving what they give you and then giving absolutely nothing back except presence. No escalation, no demands, no future obligations, no using their openness against them later. The contrast. They share something vulnerable, a fear, a memory, a shame. You. Thank you for telling me that. I'm really glad you felt safe enough to share this with me. What moves through them? She doesn't need me to be fixed. She doesn't want me to perform healing right now. I can just be here. Versus. They share something vulnerable. You. That makes so much sense now. I understand why you are the way you are. Do you think this is something we could work through together? What moves through them? I opened a door, and she walked through it to get something from me. This was a mistake. The shift. The gift of true emotional safety, the ability to receive without grasping, is what makes an avoidant partner actually begin to trust that closeness won't cost them themselves. And that's when they start turning toward you. Not because you asked them to, but because you made it finally feel safe to come home. Point 5. Your need to be chosen is your work, not theirs. The pattern. Most people in anxious avoidant dynamics spend years asking their partner to choose them more clearly, to initiate more, to express love more explicitly, to make them feel like a priority. The request sounds reasonable from the inside, but from the outside, it sounds like this. I need you to perform your love in the specific way I need it performed, or I don't feel secure. And here's what happens. They try for a while. They send the texts. They say the words. They show up more. But it doesn't stick. And it doesn't feel like enough because it is coming from obligation, not from desire. And you can tell the difference, even when you wish you couldn't. The deeper truth. This is where most advice gets it completely wrong. They tell you to communicate your needs more clearly. But your problem was never that they didn't understand what you needed. It was that your neediness was a signal that you had outsourced your sense of worth to someone else's behavior. This is not a judgment. It's a fact. And it's one of the most important truths in all of attachment psychology. The anxious avoidance cycle is maintained by two people who are both looking outside themselves for something only they can provide. You are asking them to make you feel chosen. But they cannot make you feel chosen if their choosing comes from guilt, obligation, or fear. It only works when it comes from genuine desire. And genuine desire cannot be demanded. It can only be generated by becoming someone worth desiring. The contrast. You, after a week of feeling disconnected, I need you to tell me more clearly that you want this relationship. I need you to initiate more. I need to feel like I'm a priority. What their brain registers. If I don't perform this correctly, she'll be upset. This is a test I keep failing. Versus you, after a week of feeling disconnected. Hey, I've been in my head a bit, but I've got it handled. I've been going to the gym, hanging with my guys. Just wanted you to know I'm present. What their brain registers. She doesn't need me to rescue her. She's okay. And that's attractive? Interesting? I feel less pressure. The shift. Here's the mic drop for this one. You do not need to be chosen. You need to be the kind of person who chooses themselves. And then lets love be a result of that, not a reason for it. When you become someone who can walk away, who has a life they love, who doesn't need the relationship to survive, that is when the relationship actually becomes something worth fighting for. Point 6. Stop trying to fix what your nervous system can't solve. The pattern. Most people in anxious avoidant relationships truly believe, that if they could just find the right strategy, the right communication framework, the right book, the right couples therapist who specializes in attachment, they could solve this. So they do. They learn about the anxious avoidant cycle. They understand the theory. They go to therapy. They come back armed with language. I know you have an avoidant attachment style. I know this triggers your system. I just want us to work on creating safety together. And the avoidant partner hears, I have been researching what's wrong with you, and I have a plan to fix it. The deeper truth. Here's what no one explains. You cannot think your way out of a nervous system response. You cannot logic your way past a trauma response. You cannot love someone out of a pattern that was formed before they were old enough to choose it. Your anxious partner, your anxious self, does not need to be understood. They need to be resourced. And your avoidant partner does not need to be explained. They need to be given space that doesn't come with a cost. The reason most attempts to work on the relationship fail is that both partners are approaching it as a problem to be solved. But the relationship is not a problem. It is a living system. And living systems don't get fixed. They get repatterned, slowly, organically, through thousands of small moments of new experience. The contrast. You, sitting down for a serious conversation. I've been reading about attachment theory, and I think we have an anxious-avoidant dynamic. I think we should try to create a more secure base. What they experience. Another conversation where I'm the one with the problem. Versus you, in a casual moment after something good happened. I had a really good day today. Made progress on that project. Feeling good. What they experience. She's not falling apart. She's okay. I'm okay. We might actually be okay. The shift. When you stop treating the relationship like a problem to be solved and start treating it like a garden to be tended, slowly, consistently, without demanding results, you create the conditions under which real change becomes possible. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped forcing it. Point 7. Let go of the version of them that you're holding on to. The pattern. Most people who are with an avoidant partner spend years holding on to a fantasy version of who their partner could be. The version that texts back immediately. The version that wants to talk about feelings. The version that chooses them first. The version that shows up in every hard moment. This fantasy is doing something devastating to your relationship. It is telling your partner, non-verbally, every single day, you are not enough as you are. But if you could just become someone else, we could be happy. And they know. They feel it, even if you never say it. The deeper truth. Here is the truth that most people in this situation are not ready to hear. The version of your partner that you're holding on to doesn't exist and never did. You fell in love with a real person, one who is loving, loyal, kind, and deeply limited in their capacity for emotional attunement. Not because they don't care, but because that's who they are. And holding on to a fantasy version of them is not love. It is a refusal to accept the reality of who they actually are. This is not a reason to leave. This is a reason to love them differently. The contrast. You, after another hard week. I just wish you were more open. I wish you could just understand what I need without me having to explain it. That's all I want. What they're hearing. She will never stop wanting me to be someone I'm not. Versus you in a moment of genuine acceptance. You know what I've realized? You show up for me in ways I used to miss because they don't look like what I thought love should look like. But they are love, and I'm starting to see that. What moves through them? She sees me, not the version she wishes I was, me. The shift. And when you release the fantasy of who they could be, something extraordinary happens. You start to see who they actually are. And who they actually are is someone who loves you in their own way. Quietly, protectively, sometimes awkwardly, always imperfectly, but really. And that is the beginning of real intimacy. Not the intimacy you imagined, the one that's actually possible.